Hey everyone, it's Lisa Bongean from Primitive Gatherings, and I am super excited because we are going to kick off our first video for our summer romance project. Now this set of videos I want to use like a basic introduction to wool applique on a quilt. All right, so not on a mat, but on a quilt. So we're going to go through all of the steps. I think we're going to do 12 videos total. So you have step-by-step instructions on how to do wool applique on a quilt. This is not wool applique, but it kind of goes with our theme. But anyway, so our project is called Summer Romance, and here is the block. All right, if you are just finding out about this now, it is several sizes, and I'm going to kind of go through that in a minute. I don't have a colored picture, and this is pretty not, I'm going to have Kaylee sneak up close here. This is not a finished pattern, but you can kind of see the borders here as well. So every one of the sizes has the same border on it. You just make it according to the size that you're making it. So it's really fun. You have a couple different options. You can make the quilt with 4 blocks in the center, 9 blocks, or 16. So with that being said, we have, I'm putting the pattern back here, we have 3 different sizes. And the 4 block Summer Romance is 42 inches square approximately, right? And then 55 for the 9 block, and then 68 for the 16 block. So you have 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. So we have kitted this for each one of the sizes. So this obviously is the small kit, and this is just the wools here. And then the medium kit here. And then we have the large kit here. All those beautiful summer colors. And then we have our background. Now you can purchase these separately on our website. You can have a wool kit, your background fabric, so make sure you order the correct size and then the correct size for the background. So you have 3 yards, 4 yards, or 5 yards of this graphite for the small, the medium, and the large consecutively. So that's all the information on that as well. And there's also a thread kit available too, which I'll be talking about when we go through all of the supplies. All right, so that is the basic start on how you get the fabrics. You also get the pattern free when you purchase the kit. If you do not want to purchase a kit, but you still maybe want to do this, we will offer a pattern only, and then you can watch the videos as well. All right, so I'm going to start taking things away so I do not forget anything. So I'm going to set aside the kits because we already talked about those. And then the graphite background fabric and pattern. So I'll move those all out of the way. All right, so we do need some basic things to make you successful at what I do. Now, these are the things that I use every day in my wool applique, and I'm gonna go right down to the cutting mat, everything, right? So I am sitting on my OFA cutting mats here. I really love the OFA ones, as well as I like the OFA cutters. So always make sure when you start a new project that you have a good blade in there. I don't always want to say a new blade because I use these endurance blades in my OFA cutter and they last a long time. So just make sure you take very good care of your rotary cutters and your blades when you're cutting. And I also love this little mini one, and you will see how I use this mini one in a tutorial that will be coming up shortly when we do cutting of fusible web. All right, so then here is the thread kit that I was talking about, and my thread kit is being used because I am well into the blocks here. I don't want to say I'm all done, but we're getting close. All right, so you're going to get 12 threads in your thread kit, and I do want to point out that there's 2 balls of the leaf one. So that one, and I'm not sure because I haven't had the whole project stitched whether this one is going to cover 2 balls is going to be enough, but I will let you know. All right, so here are all of the balls that we have. We have 8 for the flowers, and then the stems, the leaves, and then the fly stitch thread on there. So those are all the threads that come in the kit. I do want to point out, because we didn't want to not get everyone a kit, we did make a couple substitutions in, you might have this. So this one right here is 0542 is a substitution for M18. So you might get this one in your kit. No big deal. They're all going to look gorgeous. I just happened to have to pick one, and that is the one I picked. And then to substitute for the JP7, we have 62. And I know they look totally different here, but they both do really look good on the peach looking wool. Okay? This one probably actually looks better than the one I picked. All right, but I did want to point out that you may have those substitutions in your thread kit, but it all will work out. Okay, so then after the rotary cutter, you're going to have to use rulers in this. So you're going to be cutting some blocks. I will demonstrate those rulers in one of our first videos on how to cut your background fabric. Now you can use the 8x24. That one will probably be your best bet for cutting your background for this one. All right, and then everything I have here is sitting on this beautiful Daylight light box. My light box is one of my best friends. Okay, I would die without this light box. And I do a lot of tracing and fusing and placing my appliques using my light box. All right, so if you're going to do a lot of this, get yourself a really nice one. I love this one. It's thin, it's expensive, I'm not gonna lie. But I deserve the best because I do a lot of this, and it's super bright. It's not plugged in right now, but this is the biggest one that they come, the biggest and the best. That's what I got for myself there. So make sure you have a light box. It'll really help placing when we get on with all of the videos and stuff. Now, you will probably be pressing your seams open on this when we put these together. So I have included a couple of options for the strip stick for pressing seams open, or this really nice one from You and Me. And this one is the 20-inch, and it has this wool on it, so it's kind of nicer to use, but the price reflects that. This one is much more reasonable than this one, okay? But both necessary. Okay, I'm gonna move everything aside here. Okay, so back to cutting. We have lots of stems to cut in this project. So this stem cut ruler is going to be a lifesaver. Now it will cut 3/16, not a quarter, but 3/16. And why I want 3/16 is because when I cut 3/16 and stitch 3/16 with thread, it's going to look a 1/4 of an inch. So if I cut my strip a 1/4 of an inch and then stitched it, it's going to look much bigger. So we want 3/16, and this is a way to cut multiple strips at one time, very fast and very efficient. So snag one of those as well. And then when we're sewing our blocks together, you want a thread that matches your background. You don't want to stitch these blocks together in white or light gray. You want a nice medium to dark gray or fill thread to stitch them together. This one is 5004. Does it match perfect? No, but it's the right tone, and you won't even see it when our blocks are stitched together. And then we're going to do a lot of hand cutting, and I love my Primitive Gathering scissors. Now this is a 5-inch scissors. It has a really nice blade on it. Our logo is inside here on the black. You can see that there. Now the holes, you'll notice, are not very big. So some people like really big holes, but I just use my fingertips. So I'm going to teach you how to cut very fast and very efficient. And I do not prefer a serrated edge on my scissors for cutting out wool. And that's my personal preference. I'm just giving you things that I work with every day that make me successful. And then this pinpoint tweezers by Martelli. Again, I can't live without this as well. You are not going to believe how much time this is going to save you when we're pulling all the papers off the backs of our appliques and placing them onto our background. That's when you're going to use this tool. And then, okay, let's talk about marking. So we're going to mark a couple things on our, we might want to mark our lines where our stems go, or if you're working directly on a light box, you can just use the light box for your stem. So either way, there's going to be some marking in this, but not a ton. So I have my go-to white liquid chalk pen is one of my most favorite, and you could use this for marking a line down the center of the leaves when we're going to do the feather stitch. But a couple other options are a marker. Like sometimes I'll just mark my stems with this marker. If you're not that brave, you can use friction pens. Those iron off, which is nice. Or a lot of times I just use this big chubby kindergarten pencils, I call these big ones that have nice soft leads in them, and these work nice as well. So it's all about kind of preference for marking. Okay, now let's scoot over here. One of the most important things that I want to talk about is fusible web. So I use the Heat and Bond Feather Light for all of my appliques except for the stems. All right, so this one is very reasonable. It's like $2.40 a yard or something like that. We do have an option that you can buy a whole bolt of this if you do a lot of applique like I do. So there are 35 yards on this bolt right here. So if you want a bolt of it, you can order that, or you can order it by the yard also on our website. And again, a whole video on how to use the fusible web. That one is the Feather Light, not light, Feather Light. Okay. Then for the stems on the blocks and the border stems, I love the Steam-A-Seam 2 Light. And you can buy it in a sheet. You can buy it on a roll. There's lots of different ways to buy it. And no matter which way you purchase it, we'll be able to cut it for cutting our stems. And I just want to point out that this one, you can kind of, this is the fusible right there. You can actually see it. It's nothing protecting it. But this one has a grid on the side that you draw on, or we're not going to draw on this because we're going to cut stems out of it. But it also has like two papers. It has a protective sheet on the back. So I used to have to write directions where it said, you know, peel the paper off the back. Well, that really doesn't work sometimes now for some of the other fusibles that we work. So one side will have fusible web on it and the other side won't. And it should stay with this side, but sometimes it goes whatever way it wants to. But we'll talk about more of that in the video. So that is the fusible web. Okay, so then once we get to stitching, oh, these general pencils also are really good for marking as well. I love those, and these are really reasonable too. I have a lot of them at home that are about that big from multiple sharpenings. Okay, so in this particular project, I have used the 22 chenille needle for hand stitching the wool appliques. You can use a 24 if you like that smaller needle, but we're using 8-weight thread for this. So for me, the 22 is the better needle, but you can use both. And then when we put the binding on, we're going to want a binding needle to put the binding on the quilt at the end. So I have those as well. And then a couple other little things, fray check. We're going to use this on some of the leaf wools, and I'll explain why when we get to that video. All right, so last but not least is my favorite light for stitching. Now this is called the Beam and Read. And I have to apologize because I didn't check, but my rechargeable batteries here are not charged right now. So when you put this on, you put it on like this, and then you use this. This light will come on just by doing this. And you can have 3 lights or 6 lights on. So maybe you want to read at night in bed using this and you don't need, you know, all 6 lamps on for that. But this is very nice to wear. You don't even know you have it on. And it's like a personal light you can stitch in a hotel room with all the lights off. It's that good. All right. So those are all the basics. I just want to make sure I didn't forget anything that you're going to need for summer romance. So I'm going to give you a little time to collect all these items, and we will get ready with the next video shortly.